Pop quiz, and I'm actually going to quiz you on this at the end of the episode, so pay attention. You want to fly American Airlines from Atlanta to Los Angeles, and you've got Chase points. You log into your Chase account, you pull up the list of transfer partners, and you scan through it. United, Southwest, British Airways, Air France KLM, Singapore Airlines, Hyatt, Marriott. You scan again, slower this time. American Airlines is not on that list. Most people close the tab right there. They think, okay, I can't use my Chase points for American. So they either pay cash or they book through the Chase travel portal. That flight runs about $400 during a busy travel week, which means the portal wants around 32,000 points for it. And here's what they missed. American Airlines is in something called the One World Airline Alliance. British Airways is also in One World, and Chase transfers directly to British Airways one-to-one. So here's what you actually do. You transfer your Chase points to British Airways, you go to the British Airways website, you search for that Atlanta to Los Angeles flight operated by American Airlines, and you book it through British Airways using their miles, which are called Avios. The cost, $20,000. The portal cost for the same flight was around 32,000 points. Same American Airlines plane and the same seat, same little bag of pretzels. You just paid roughly a third less because you knew to look one step sideways. That's called an indirect transfer. And that one move, looking sideways instead of straight ahead, is what today's entire episode is about. And stick around because later in the show, I've got routes where the gap isn't a third, it's more than a half. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Points Rookie. I'm Lane, and if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, pause this and go do that first. Seriously, I'll wait. Today builds directly on it. We covered the foundation, what bank points are, why they beat the portal, tools you use to search, and the 4-word framework that ties the whole process together. Map, search, transfer, and book. Today, we go deeper on the map. In part 1, we covered direct transfers. You move Chase or Amex points to an airline, you book through that airline. Straightforward and powerful. But there's a second category called indirect transfers that most people don't discover until they've been in the game for a year or two. And once you understand it, you realize it was hiding in plain sight the whole time. 2 things before we dive in. First, this isn't a list of clever tricks. It's a process. One repeatable 5-step process that works for American Airlines, United, Japan, Europe. Any destination where you're looking sideways finds you a better deal. I'm going to teach you the process first, then we're going to run it together on real examples. By the end, you'll be able to run it yourself. Second, and this is the part that most people don't know, every specific number that I give you today is accurate at the time that I recorded this in June of 2026. I checked every single one of these this week, but these programs change their prices, sometimes without warning. 3 of the programs we'll talk about today raised prices in just the last year and a half. So if you're listening to this in the future, the exact numbers may have moved. The process never will. Learn the process, and you can always look up today's prices. That's the whole point. So let's dive in. But before we get into the mechanics, I want to land the concept that makes all of this possible, because once this clicks, everything begins to make a bit more sense. You do not always book with the airline that you fly. Let me say that again, because it sounds wrong the first time you hear it. You do not always book with the airline that you fly. The airline that operates your flight, the one whose plane you sit on, whose crew serves you, is not necessarily the loyalty program you use to pay for that seat in miles. Those are 2 separate things. And understanding that separation is what separates beginners from people who consistently get exceptional value out of their points. You might fly United, but book through Air Canada's Aeroplan. You might fly American, but book through British Airways. You might fly ANA, a Japanese airline, but book through Virgin Atlantic. The same plane, the same seat, same experience, just a different program handling the booking behind the scenes. So why does this matter? Because different programs charge different prices for the same seat. One program might want 32,000 points. Another program for the exact same flight on the same date might want 20,000. Both are legitimate, both work. You just have to know the other option exists. Here's my favorite analogy. Think about food delivery apps. They all deliver from the same restaurants. The pizza is identical no matter which app you order through, but the prices and fees are different on every app. You don't want a different pizza, you just want the app that charges you less for the same pizza. That's the indirect transfer game. The same flight, different program, but a better price. And the infrastructure that makes it all work is airline alliances, which brings me to the tool we're going to use every single time. Here's your 5-step checklist. This is the spine of everything that we do today, and it's repeatable on any flight, any destination, any airline. If you only screenshot one thing from this episode, make it this. Actually, if you're not driving, pause and write this down. Seriously. So step 1 is your airline. What airline do you want to fly? Pick the one that makes sense for your route. Non-stops, connections, departure times, whatever matters to you. You're not picking a loyalty program yet, just the airline. Step 2 is the alliance. What alliance is that airline in? Every major airline belongs to one of 3 global alliances: Oneworld, Star Alliance, or SkyTeam. And I'll give you the full list in a minute. Your airline's alliance is the universe of partner programs that you use to book. So now let's look at partner program, which is step 3. Which program inside that alliance do your bank points transfer to? And which one prices this specific route the best? Sometimes one program charges dramatically fewer miles than another for the same seat. This is where you shop around. The checklist doesn't stop at find a program in the alliance. It asks you to find the best one for your trip. Step 4 is search. Before you transfer a single point, confirm the award space actually exists. Use seats.aero to scan availability, then verify it on the program's own website. The rule from part 1 has not changed. Search first, transfer second, always. And then step 5, you compare. Miles plus cash fees versus the portal price versus just paying cash. Run all 3 numbers and pick the winner. Don't assume the indirect transfer automatically wins. Sometimes the portal or a direct transfer is the better deal. The comparison is what tells you that. That's it. Airline, alliance, partner program, search, and compare. Every example I walk you through today is just this checklist applied to a specific flight. The examples will change, the prices will change, the process will not. Step 2 of the checklist requires knowing which alliance an airline belongs to. So here's your map. There are 3 major global airline alliances. Think of them as 3 giant carpools. Everybody in the carpool agrees to share seats with everybody else in the carpool. There's Oneworld. The members that you need to know are American Airlines, British Airways, Alaska Airlines, Iberia, Qantas, Japan Airlines, Cathay Pacific, Qatar Airways. If you want to fly any of these and you're hunting the best indirect option, you're shopping inside Oneworld. Next, we'll look at Star Alliance, the biggest of the 3. Members that you need to know are United, Air Canada, Lufthansa, Swiss, Singapore Airlines, ANA, Turkish Airlines, Avianca, Air New Zealand. If you want to fly United or any of these carriers, Star Alliance is in your sandbox. And then last is SkyTeam. The members that you really need to know are Delta, Air France, KLM, Korean Air, Aeromexico, and as of a couple of years ago, Virgin Atlantic. If you want to fly Delta or Air France, you're really looking here. The practical implication is when an airline joins an alliance, it agrees to share award inventory with the other members. A program inside Star Alliance can search for and book available seats on other Star Alliance flights. A Oneworld program can book Oneworld flights. That's the plumbing that makes indirect transfers possible. Now, let me be honest about 2 wrinkles. 1, not every program in an alliance gets the same access to partner award space, and not every program can book every flight. The alliance is the starting point. The specific program determines what's actually available and what it costs. And 2, there are also bilateral partnerships, special deals between 2 specific airlines that go beyond alliance membership. The famous one is Virgin Atlantic and ANA. ANA is in the Star Alliance. Virgin Atlantic is in SkyTeam. Different alliances entirely, but they have a direct partnership that lets Virgin's program book ANA flights at some of the best pricing anywhere. We'll get to that one. It's worth the wait. The takeaway is know the three alliances. Know which one your target airline is in. That's step 2 every single time. Let's run the checklist for real. You want to fly American Airlines. You have Chase points. Step 1 is your airline, so that's American Airlines. That's the plane that you want to be on. Step 2 is what alliance is it in, and American is a oneworld. So the program that can book American award flights are other oneworld members. Step 3 are what is the partner program? Which oneworld programs do Chase points transfer to? British Airways, Iberia, Aer Lingus. British Airways is your workhorse for American flights because British Airways uses a distance-based award chart instead of pricing flights off some complicated fare system. It asks the one question: how far are you flying? Is it a short flight, fewer miles, period? Now, quick honesty break. This used to be an absolutely legendary sweet spot. A few years ago, short American flights cost somewhere around 7,500 obvious. British Airways has raised those prices twice since 2024, and boy, does it sting. I'm giving you the current numbers, not the nostalgia numbers, because you're going to book with the current numbers. So here's the chart for American Airlines within North America as of today. Flights up to 650 miles are 13,500 obvious one way. Flights from 651 to 1,151 miles are 18,000 obvious. Flights from 1,152 to 2,000 miles are 20,000 obvious. And 2,001 to 3,000 are 22,000 obvious. One important detail: British Airways prices each flight segment separately, so this works best on nonstop flights. Okay, so here's some real city pairs. Atlanta to Miami is about 595 miles, so 13,500 obvious one way. Atlanta to Dallas is about 730 miles, so about 18,000 obvious. Atlanta to Los Angeles, which was our cold open flight, is about 1,950 miles, and that's 20,000 obvious one way. Now, compared to the Chase portal, a quick note here, because Chase changed the rules in late 2025, and depending on which card you have and when you earned your points, portal redemptions are worth between 1 cent and 1.25 cents per point, which occasional boost rates on select bookings. I'll use 1.25 today, the friendliest case. So if your points only get 1 cent in the portal, everything I'm about to say gets even better for transfers. But at 1.25 cents, a $220 fare costs 17,600 points in the portal. A $300 fare costs 24,000 points. A $400 fare costs 32,000. Here's the arbitrage. The portal prices off the cash fare. British Airways prices off the distance. The British Airways chart does not care that it's Thanksgiving week. It does not care that the fare tripled because of a holiday or a last-minute booking. Atlanta to Miami is 595 miles in July, and it's 595 miles on December 23rd. So when cash fares spike, peak travel, holidays, booking late, the distance chart wins big. A $350 holiday fare to Miami is 28,000 points in the portal, or 13,500 obvious, less than half. When fares are cheap, the portal can absolutely win. That's why step 5 exists. Run the comparison every time. So here's a little extra credit. And if your brain is full, skip ahead 30 seconds. This is a bonus move. Avios is actually a shared currency across several airlines. British Airways, Iberia, Qatar Airways, Aer Lingus, Finnair. You can slide Avios between these programs for free instantly. And right now, Qatar Airways prices some short American Airlines flights cheaper than British Airways does. That same under 650-mile flight is 9,500 Avios through Qatar instead of 13,500 through British Airways. Same alliance, same plane, one more step looking sideways. You don't need this move today. I just want you to know the rabbit hole goes deeper, and the checklist is how you navigate through it. Down the road, I will do a full episode with a deep dive on Avios, but today, let's continue to build our current foundation. So let's go look at Hawaii, one of the places that you all know from listening to the show that I'm very interested in booking and traveling to. In fact, we're working on a trip as we speak. The same checklist, but this is a bigger trip. This is one of the most popular plays in the points world. So step 1, what is the airline? Well, we want to fly, let's say, American or Alaska Airlines. Both fly to Hawaii from the West Coast, and both are in oneworld. Step 2, we know the alliance is oneworld. Step 3 is the partner program. British Airways, again, West Coast to Honolulu, runs roughly 2,400 to 2,700 miles, depending on your departure city, which lands in the 2,001 to 3,000 mile band. So we're looking at 22,000 avios one way. That's 44,000 avios round trip to Hawaii, flown on American or Alaska, booked through British Airways, funded by Chase, Amex, Capital One, or City Points. Now, step 4, let's search seats.aero, filter for British Airways availability on American or Alaska flights to Hawaii, confirm space on your dates, then verify on BritishAirways.com. Now we're going to compare. West Coast to Hawaii cash fares run $400 to $800 in normal periods and well over $1,000 in peak season. At 1.25 cents, a $600 fare is 48,000 portal points. And if your points redeem at 1 cent, it's 60,000. The Avios route is 44,000. At a $600 fare, the gap is real but modest. At an $800 peak fare, the portal wants 64,000 points. Avios still wants 44,000. The more expensive the cash fare, the harder the distant chart flexes. And the fee situation is beautiful. Booking American or Alaska flights through British Airways, the taxes and fees are typically $5 to $11, although I believe they are increasing soon after I've recorded this. But hold that thought. There's a reason I keep mentioning fees, and it's coming back in a few minutes. Booking it step by step. So go to BA.com, log into British Airways account, which you opened today for free because I told you to do that last episode. Search your route with the reward flight option selected. American and Alaska flights show up right alongside British Airways flights with the obvious price right there. If seats.aero already confirms space on your dates, this is just completing the transaction. Then and only then, once you have confirmed, transfer the exact number of points you need from Chase, Amex, Capital One, or Citi to your British Airways account. Most transfers land instantly, but confirm the award is still showing. Book it, and now you're done. You just booked an American Airlines flight using a British Airlines miles, funded by a credit card that doesn't even partner with American. Whew, that's the move. Okay, let's do a second walkthrough. Different airline, same checklist. And this one comes with a plot twist that perfectly proves why you learn the process instead of just memorizing the deals. So we want to fly on the airline United. So that's step 1. Step 2 is what alliance? Well, they're in the Star Alliance. Step 3, the partner program. Chase, Amex, and Capital One all transfer to Air Canada Aeroplan. Aeroplan is in the Star Alliance and can book United flights. But wait, Chase also transfers directly to the United Mileage Plus. So why would you ever go through Aeroplan instead of straight to United? Well, because the two programs price the same United seat differently. United's own program uses fully dynamic pricing. The miles required for an in-flight bounce around constantly based on demand and cash price. All right, friends, quick mid-episode break, proudly brought to you by absolutely no one. That's right. This show is currently powered by caffeine, enthusiasm, and the hope that one day a sponsor will appear like a surprise American Express offer. Brands, if you're listening, this is your moment. Step into the light. I'm ready. And for everyone else, if you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe or share it with a friend. And if you want to fuel the caffeine part of this operation, you can buy me a coffee. Totally optional, always appreciated. Links in the show notes. All right, back to it. On a popular route during peak travel, United might want 20,000 or 25,000 miles for a domestic one-way that Aeroplan is selling for half that. Now, here's the plot twist that I promised. For years, Aeroplan priced United flights on a fixed distance chart, short hops for as little as 6,000 points locked in, no surprises. It was beautiful. Then in March of 2025, Aeroplan moved United to dynamic pricing too. Short domestic flights through Aeroplan now start around 10,000 points instead of 6,000. So is the play dead? No. And this is the lesson. The play was never Aeroplan is always cheaper. The play is two programs, two prices, same seat, check both. That's still completely true today. But here's the honest truth in 2026. Since that change, booking United through Aeroplan often costs about the same as booking United directly. Sometimes Aeroplan still wins. Sometimes it's a tie. The point isn't that one always beats the other, it's that you check both every time. which, say it with me, is step 4. I've done this personally. I've transferred Chase points to Aeroplan and booked United flights through the Aeroplan website, flown on a United plane with a United boarding pass and a United seat. Nobody at the gate asked which program I used. The only thing that mattered was that I had a confirmed ticket. And one more thing that's still excellent about Aeroplan. For most other Star Alliance airlines, like Lufthansa, Swiss, Turkish, Air New Zealand, Aeroplan still uses a fixed distance chart within North America. So 6,000 points for flights under 500 miles, 10,000 for 501 to 1,500 miles, 12,500 points up to 2,750 miles. Those fixed partner prices are the predictable backbone of the program. All right, step 4 is search. This is a 2-tab job. Tab 1, United's own site. See what Mileage Plus wants for your route. Tab 2, seats.aero. Filter to Aeroplan. Same route. Compare what each shows. Sometimes Aeroplan wins clearly. Sometimes United runs a saber sale and wins. The checklist doesn't have a favorite. It just wants the lowest number. And then step 5, as always, is compare. Aeroplan miles plus fees. And heads up, Aeroplan charges a partner booking fee of about $30 versus United miles plus fees versus the Chase portal, 3 numbers, pick the winner. So one practical note here, open your free Aeroplan account today while you're thinking about it. I said it in part 1 and I'm repeating it on purpose. Aeroplan has historically had quirks around brand new accounts and transfers. You want that account aged and ready before you find that award you need to grab fast. Okay, you've now run the checklist twice. So instead of walking you through 3 more at full speed, I'm going to hit you with the highlight reel. 3 indirect plays that represent some of the most remarkable value in the entire game. File these away. Play 1, Virgin Atlantic through ANA to Tokyo, business class, lie flat bed. ANA is a Japanese airline with one of the best business class products on the planet, a seat they literally named the room. Flying it to Japan is on a lot of people's bucket list, mine included, and for most people, it feels completely out of reach. The cash price for this could be $7,000 to $10,000 per person. But here's the thing. Chase, Amex, Capital One, and Citi all transfer to Virgin Atlantic 1-to-1. And Virgin Atlantic has a bilateral partnership with ANA. Remember, that's the special 2-airline deal that crosses alliance lines, with some of the lowest pricing for ANA seats anywhere in the world. West Coast to Tokyo on ANA business class through Virgin Atlantic, roughly 45,000 to 52,500 points one way, depending on current pricing. So verify the live rate before you get excited because these move constantly. For a seat that costs more than a used car. And yes, Virgin raised those rates in 2024 for $90,000 round trip. It's still arguably the single best business class deal in the points world. That tells you how absurdly good it was before and how good it still remains. Full transparency, because that's how we do it here. I haven't flown this one yet. It's at the top of my list. I've done the research and the numbers are real, but award space is genuinely hard to find and you need to plan way ahead. The good news is Virgin lets you book ANA one way now, which makes piecing a trip together much more flexible. And one heads up, you can't book this one online. You can confirm the space on a tool like seats.aero, then you have to call Virgin Atlantic to actually book it. And a quick honesty note. This one isn't fee-free. You're looking at roughly $150 to $350 in taxes and surcharges, depending on your route. Still a screaming deal against a $7,000 cash ticket, but it's not the $5 magic of the Hawaii play we talked about. And when I book it, you'll get a full episode, probably with me audibly crying. Play 2 is Avianca Life Miles. So they're in the Star Alliance with 0 fuel surcharges. Avianca is a South American airline in the Star Alliance. Amex, Capital One, and Citi all transfer to its Life Miles program. And Life Miles has one superpower. When you book partner flights through Avianca, they do not pass on fuel surcharges. None. Just government taxes and roughly $25 in booking fee. Why does that matter? Because as you're about to hear in the next segment, some programs quietly stack hundreds of dollars in surcharges onto international awards. Life Miles they just don't, at least for now. For long-haul international flights, especially to Europe, that can keep hundreds of dollars in your pocket. Current Life Miles pricing in Europe runs 40,000 miles one way in economy, and the fee total is basically lunch money. Life Miles raised the prices in 2025 like everybody else, so always run step 5, but no surcharges ever on any partner makes this program permanently worth knowing. Play number 3, Iberia, Spain, the cheapest door into Europe. This one's slightly different. You're booking Iberia's own flights with Iberia's own program. The reason it makes the list? Most people have no idea Iberia is sitting right there as a transfer partner, and its off-peak pricing to Spain is among the most favorable of any European program. New York or Boston to Madrid, off-peak dates, 16,000 Avios one-way in economy, 32,000 round trip. Business class, 40,500 one-way, 81,000 round trip. Taxes and fees are among the lowest of any European award. Amex and Chase both transfer 1-to-1. And remember, the shared currency trip from earlier, Avios, you already have with British Airways, can slide over to Iberia for free. If Europe's on your list and your dates are flexible, this is worth 5 minutes of the checklist minimum. I keep mentioning fees. Here's why. This catches people off guard more than almost anything else in the indirect transfer world, and it can quietly turn a great-looking deal into a really bad one. When you book an award flight, you owe some cash on top of the miles. Government taxes, airport fees, fine. Those are small. But some airlines also add what they politely call carrier-imposed surcharges. I want you to think of those as the airline version of a resort fee. The price said one thing, the checkout page says another. Nobody can fully explain what it's actually for. On domestic awards, fees are usually pocket change, that $5 to $11 that I keep celebrating. On international awards, they vary enormously by program. Some programs stack hundreds of dollars onto the booking. Some charge almost nothing. And here's the critical part. The program that you book through, combined with the airline whose plane you're on, is what determines the surcharge, not the actual route. The most important example is British Airways itself. Use British Airways Avios to book a British Airways operated long-haul flight, let's say London to Los Angeles on a BA plane, and you'll get hit with serious surcharges. We're talking $400 to $600 or more in cash on top of your Avios. That can wreck your entire redemption. But use those same Avios to book an American Airlines plane, and the surcharges mostly vanish. American doesn't impose the fees BA does. Same program, same Avios, different plane, wildly different checkout total. That's exactly why everything I taught you today was about booking American flights through British Airways, not a British Airway flight through British Airways. Whose plane you really fly on is what matters. The rule to tattoo on your brain: for any international award, look at the total cost, the miles plus all cash fees, before you transfer a single point. If the fee line is in the hundreds, compare other programs booking the same flight. Life Miles, remember, charges no surcharges at all. 5 minutes of comparison can save you hundreds of dollars. Remember, miles cover the fare, cash covers the fee. Don't let the fee side of the equation cancel out the value that you work so hard to earn. And one more skill, and then we land this plane today, pun intended. Searching for indirect awards works a little differently than what we covered in part 1. With a direct transfer, Chase to Southwest, let's say, you search on Southwest's website and you see what you see, and that's what you get. It's simple. With an indirect transfer, you're looking for award space on one airline's flights through a different airline's program booking system, and a partner award space is limited in resource. Airlines release a set number of seats to outside programs, and it's often fewer than what they offer their own members. That makes sense, right? You might search a 2-week window and find partner space on 3 days. That's normal. Knowing it up front before you transfer tells you exactly what you're working with. So here's the workflow. I love to start with seats.aero. Select the program you want to book through: British Airways, Aeroplan, Life Miles, Virgin Atlantic, whichever. Enter your origin and destination. Set your date range as wide as your life allows. Flexibility is literally currency in the points and miles game. What comes back is a calendar view of where partner award space actually exists. Weeks of availability at a glance instead of clicking through an airline calendar one day at a time. Then confirm on the program's own website. Once seats.aero shows space on a date that works, Go to BA.com, Aeroplan.com, LifeMiles.com, wherever, and search that exact date. Seats.aero is usually accurate, but award space changes in real time. Confirm it's bookable on their site with your own eyes, then and only then transfer. The reminder that never changes is the one rule of this entire series. Search first, confirm availability, then transfers. As you know, transfers are a one-way street and they are permanent. Points go from your bank to an airline. They never, ever come back. And one final nag, with love. Open your loyalty accounts now. British Airways, Aeroplan, LifeMiles, Virgin Atlantic, Iberia, all free. All 5 minutes. A brand new account at the exact moment you're racing to book a disappearing award seat is how mistakes happen. The future you will thank the present you. And a final recap. Told you the quiz was coming. So 3 questions, and answer out loud. Yes, even in the car, especially in the car. Question 1. You want to fly American Airlines, but American isn't on your bank's transfer list. What in the world do you do? Well, you look sideways. American is one world. British Airways is one world. Your points transferred to British Airways. You book the American flight through British Airways. Question number 2. You found the award space on Seats.aero. Do you transfer your points now immediately? Not yet. You confirm it's bookable on the program's own website first, then you transfer. Remember, transfers are permanent. Question 3. You're booking an international award and the fees come to $480. What happened and what do you do? Well, those are carrier-imposed surcharges, probably because you're on the booking program's own long-haul plane. You check a different program for the same plane or a partner-operated plane. LifeMiles charges no surcharges at all. If you got all 3 of these, congratulations. You now understand something that maybe 1 in 100 credit card holders actually understand. Here's the full picture one more time. Map, search, transfer, book. The framework from part 1 is still the spine. Today, we supercharge the map with a 5-step checklist. The airline, the alliance, the partner program, search, and compare. Remember the 3 alliances: One World, which has American, British Airways, Alaska, Iberia, Qantas, Japan Airlines, Qatar. Star Alliance has United, Air Canada, Lufthansa, Singapore, ANA, Avianca Turkish. And last is SkyTeam, which is Delta, Air France, KLM, Korean Air, and Virgin Atlantic. And the housekeeping that makes it all work. Open your loyalty accounts today before you actually need them. Check total cost, miles plus fees before every transfer. And remember, the numbers I gave you today are as June of 2026. Programs change prices. Your checklist is forever. And one more thing, my beginner friends, and you knew it was coming because it's the foundation that this whole game is built on. None of this works unless you pay your card in full every single month and never spend money you wouldn't have spent anyway. A single month of credit card interest erases everything that you just talked about. We chase points. We do not chase debt. If this episode unlocks something for you, do me a huge favor. Send it to a friend who keeps saying they could never figure this stuff out. That friend is exactly who this show is for. Next time, we're going to take everything from parts 1 and part 2 and actually book a flight, start to finish, step by step. The training wheels are going to come off. So, as always, I'm extremely grateful for you taking the time to listen and to learn. I hope that you are picking this up, and I know that you're going to benefit from the Points and Miles game. So, I'm Lane. This is the Point Circuit. Remember, always look sideways on indirect transfers. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you later.